Memorial Hospital Board of Directors meeting, March 28, 2024 at 9 o'clock. Do we have a quorum here? Yes, we do. Okay. Do we have any public comment? No public comment. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting? Second? Any discussion? All in favor, aye? All opposed? We have now the April Employee of the Month, Kathy Chandler, Medical Records. Mr. Walker, Ms. Chandler.
So this is Kathy Chandler. So Kathy was nominated as Employee of the Month. Kathy is a great addition to Weems. She's always professional with customers and staff. Kathy takes the time to explain questions asked by patients who pick up medical records. She is always very polite. Kathy takes her job very seriously and is happy and cheerful all the time with everyone she meets daily. She's a compassionate and caring person. We're lucky to have her. And one thing about Kathy's been here, August will be 18 years, right?
17 and a half.
Yep. And, you know, I never got a complaint since I've been here as a CEO on medical records. But one thing about Kathy, a year ago, maybe a year ago, 2 years, we lost one of our team members. It hasn't even been a year yet. Bobby Terrell was the medical records manager, and Kathy worked with Bobby for years, 15 years. Bobby passed away here, and Kathy took over the department, kept everything running. She was working while hurting. She was hurt because Bobby was a good friend of hers, and she kept the unit running superbly. And one of the greatest things I noticed through all of that is that Kathy also took care of Bobby's family. Wow. You know, Bobby's husband, a lot of things was left in office. Kathy packed all of her stuff up, had everything in there she needed for her. And so she was working while she was hurting. A lot of our employees do that in the medical field. And so, Kathy, I greatly appreciate you. You know, she always keep me my peppermints and everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, but she's good. So congratulations, Kathy, as Employee of the Month. And you got a bunch of goodies to go along with that as well.
Wait a minute, Kathy. Is there anything you'd like to say?
No.
Okay.
Wait. You want to say
I need
anything?
to take care of my house
Okay.
for me.
This is the first time.
No, you said keep the meeting going.
Okay. So she's listening. She's listening to me today. Okay. All right. Well, Kathy, we greatly appreciate you. Appreciate all you do. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, lab radiology and respiratory department manager introduction, Ms. Alford, who just got back from Paris, I might add.
Good morning. We only have lab here because we have a critical patient that EMS just brought us. So Brian and Jennifer are tied up, respiratory manager and the radiology manager. But we can introduce Donna Terratute. She's our lab manager. She can tell a little
Come on up.
history about herself if she'd like. Yeah, so we have, yes, lab is here 24 hours a day. Radiology, which includes X-ray, CT, and ultrasound 24 hours a day. And then we have respiratory, which does all our EKGs, intubations, PFTs, things like that. Here's Donna Terratute.
As mentioned, I'm Donna Terratute, the current laboratory department manager here at Weems. I have worked at Weems a little over 20 years. I have been the lab manager here for the last 10. I have been a technologist for 56 years, most of which I served as either a supervisor or a manager. I received my education at the University of Florida, as well as my 1 year of internship there at what was then J. Hillis Miller Health Center. It is now Shands. I also received a master's degree when I was working in California with Cal State Dominguez Hills in laboratory management. That's it in a nutshell.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So as you can tell, we're very blessed to have someone with so much education and so much experience working here at Weems. And she Works a lot of hard, long hours for us. Very thankful for Donna. If Jennifer and Brian get an opportunity, they're going to pop in. And Dr. Conrad's tied up in the emergency room as well, so he'll be down as soon as he can as well.
Thank you. Okay, marketing update, Ms. Christy Terry, marketing liaison, MH.
How are you? My name is Christy Terry, and I am the marketing and communication strategist with TMH. And so I work with Weems through the partnership with Alliant and TMH. So I want to share some things about some of the work we've done over the last 9 or 10 months. I came on board, and this is a new position. So I came on board with TMH in April. I think I started actually with the facilities May, June. So it's been about 9 or 10 months, and so we'll just kind of go through what we've done in that time. Let's see. All right. So, as I said, we have the agreement with, or Weems has the agreement with TMH through the Alliant partnership. So I cover this hospital as well as Calhoun Liberty Hospital in Blountstown and Doctors Memorial in Perry. Some of the benefits of this actual partnership is that you don't just get me, but the whole marketing team and digital team that is available through TMH. So, digital support includes website, any kind of social media support as far as paid advertisements or paid boost or anything like that. Email marketing support, which is to facilitate some of the marketing through email that we do, as well as the social media pieces. And then for graphic design, TMH has an agreement with a firm called the Mitchells, and so Weems is able to utilize the same rate that TMH has, and so that's a benefit. Some of the responsibilities of this position are to work on branding, promotion of services and events, collateral, social media, advertising, and media relations. So we'll walk through some of that has been done thus far. So as we got started, we wanted to kind of get up to a baseline and work out, look at the logo and some of the branding that was done. And so we needed to kind of update the logo. For one thing, we needed some additional formats that weren't available for printing, for commercial printing, for different things like that. So you see the original, and we wanted to maintain kind of the feeling and the look, because we didn't want to have to go ahead and update everything at one time. So we wanted to maintain the concept. So this is what we ended up with, and that was updated in 2023. And then in 2024, we were excited to update to the 65-year logo, which we will use through this year. And so we thought this was great, and I've seen it around. It's on the email signature, and it really looks good, and also communicates that we've been here a while. We're proud of that. So along these same lines, part of the branding is to be consistent. We want to build a brand and let it be recognizable through the community and beyond. And so this is just an example of how we like to present this internally and to any vendors that we partner with, to make sure that the logo is consistent. So we have specific colors and things like that are used within the industry, specific fonts, so that we maintain the same look and consistency across the board. So these are some examples of some of the campaigns we've done over the last couple of months. Swing bed, or what we call transitional health care or transitional rehab, is something that we've focused a lot on. Over here we have a draft of a direct mail piece that we hope to send out soon. We have a banner that is used in the newspaper and on the online edition, some social media graphics, some rack cards, and then a quarter-page ad that is run in the local newspaper. So these are just the overall campaign that reminds people that we can help you get home, and we refer to it as short-term inpatient care or transitional rehab, because a lot of people don't. Swing bed doesn't mean anything to them. Swing bed is more of an industry term, and so we want to try to help people understand what that is in layman terms. Oh, wrong way. Okay. This is, of course, we helped with the health fair in 23. These are some of the collateral materials for the 24 event that we've been working with Colleen and the foundation on. The 23 event, we had about 30 plus vendors. There was excellent coordination, logistics, that kind of thing. So the toolkit is there and a strong foundation for the 24 event. So we're really looking forward to the success of that event. As you know, that date has been moved to the spring, and so we're hoping for more community engagement. But this is the look and the materials that are going out to promote that. These are some examples of, I see that some of this didn't transfer, but these are some of the things we did as local mammography launched. We had some dates that we promoted, try to get people in and boost that. Of course, we had the open house that we helped with. Healthcare observances. This was, we had Nurses Week and Hospital Week, and also focus on social media posts to help the community know what's going on within the walls of the hospital. Collateral. There are some pre-existing rack cards that we still have inventory, so we're pushing those out as much as we can. We certainly don't want to waste them. But as we move forward, this is the look that we will go. And I know there was some thoughts about making sure that people were aware of our outpatient services, and so we've worked on this rack card that will be done, and kind of that it highlights each of the services and some details, and then how they can get more information. This is some of the other additional collateral that we've done. A couple of these, we kind of tried to get out of the box and think about ways that we could target additional, or ways that we could reach out that weren't just the traditional way. So for example, over in the corner, this was an ad that we did for the tourism visitors guide. But we thought that message really carried to people who were actually renting here short term for spring break or through the summer. And so we shared that with all of the rental companies so that they could share that with the people that were coming in. Some people are here for a week, they have a kid, something happens, and they don't know where to go. And so we're excited about that. I think that will be a good way and a good image. It doesn't have to be something, super traumatic, but even a broken arm or something you need your local hospital. So also hurricane season, we did some Be Prepared social media posts. This transitional rehab flyer that we did in the middle, we did that in conjunction with some of the other Alliant facilities, and this was in preparation for going to meet with caseworkers at some of the bigger facilities. So that was specifically done for a lunch and learn that we coordinated with TMH, with their case managers. And so Courtney was there, and representatives from each of the facilities was there to talk to those case managers and say, this is what you can get if you coordinate with us. These patients can recover close to home. It's actually more successful for them to have their family nearby, and so that piece has been used a lot. We did some banners, which were carried in the parade and they're displayed around, as well as some flu shot social media posts in English and Spanish for Susie. And then we did some heat advisory things. So just kind of public service, public information. So these are some social media posts just to kind of show you the range of what we focus on. Of course, we did some things for the mammography open house, the dementia series that is going through right now, heat advisories, the CPR classes, and it's always fun to highlight the employees of the month. And so Facebook, we have about 1,000 followers or 1,000 likes, 1,200 followers, and we just started Instagram in the last couple of months, and there's only 6 people following right now. So that's definitely something that we'll focus on moving forward, is boosting that to get some more exposure. So these are just some metrics that will kind of show how far we've come in the last, since this time last year. So this is a year over year, the first quarter of 23 versus the first quarter of 24. And so you can see followers, we're up 87%. Reach, we're up 100%, 100%, sorry. And at 10,000, 10,500. And then visits were up 89% from last year. So a lot of that is just the frequency of posting, just more information, really. So email marketing. So hopefully you all got a newsletter yesterday. If you didn't, it will be resent to people who didn't open in a couple of days. But this is something we've been working hard on, and it's really an effort to let the community know what's happening. It's really cost effective because we're in control of the message, and it goes to anybody who's interested. So we currently have about 500 people in the contact, so that's who it was distributed to yesterday. We use this opt-in language for those who visit the ER or come through for outpatient services. They can opt in to this marketing language, and then they're added to the newsletter. We also have local leaders, the board, elected officials. So that is, so we will send this out quarterly, and then also special editions if needed. That would be events, or if we have any kind of public health issue in the community that we need to send something out for, we can do that. And if there are those who you'd like to have sign up to receive the newsletter, then they can do that on the website. These are some examples of some of the advertising that we do. We did develop a contract with the Apalachicola Times, an annual contract. We have 2 quarter page ads a month or 1 half page. It's up to us depending on what we have, what we'd like to promote. The banner ads are they're called the overline, but it's often on the bottom of the front page, and they also use those on the website. And then these are examples of some of the ads that we've run. For Oyster Radio, we also have an annual agreement, and currently there are 30-second spots running on local mammography, the clinics, transitional rehab, and then we'll add a health fair spot about 3 weeks prior to the event. Media relations, we're happy to support media relations as needed. So if we have news that we need to share, we do a press release or media alert. There have been some articles regarding local health care in the Times, and we have worked with Mr. Walker if he needs any assistance in developing talk points or a statement on behalf of the facility, then we help with that. So our goals for 24. As I said, for the last 9, 10 months, we've kind of worked on getting a baseline, getting a strong foundation, kind of figuring out how things are going to go. But some of the things that we're looking forward to working on in the upcoming year are the community newsletters, which we're happy that we got the first one of those out. Of course, the community health fair coming up on May 18th. The ongoing promotion of outpatient services, which include radiology, lab, infusions, therapies, those kind of things. Just really letting people know what we have here. Also, ongoing promotion of the inpatient services, EMS, clinics, of course, swing bed. It's always a priority to try to capture that market. So we'll continue to work on that and hope to be able to tackle that direct mail project. Highlight inpatient stories or just patient stories and testimonials. A lot of times people would just rather hear from somebody they know or somebody local and hear some of those stories. So that's something we want to really focus on in the upcoming year. Promotion of the upcoming gala, which is hopefully in November, I think. And so we'll work closely with Colleen on that. Nextdoor app engagement, that's something we've been struggling with. I understand that's a fan favorite for you. We have had a terrible time with them getting verified. So I've got some of our digital team working on it. They love to send us information about how to advertise, but they won't just verify. So I think there may be some dollars that would help get verified. So we're working on that.
Yeah, and Christy, let me just
Yes.
add. While Weems organization is waiting to get verified, I'm using my Nextdoor app, to put stuff on there. So she'll send me,
Yeah.
certain things that we're putting on there. We're putting on Do You Know now on the Nextdoor app, meaning that do you know that Weems offer 24 hours care here? And so we'll continue to
We'll
do that until
continue
we
to do
get
that.
that straight now.
The process for getting verified as a business is you have to submit documents that show that you're legit, that you're an actual. So we have sent them our tax ID number. We've sent them several different documents to try to say we are real. And I'm sure they're just backed up. I mean, it's very rarely an actual person sitting there these days. It's all automated. So we have reached out to their help desk and that sort of thing. It is a top priority, I want you to know. But we're lucky that Mr. Walker has been, he's been pushing things out on behalf of the hospital. And we have gained followers. It's clear that there are people in the community, using it. We've been favorited by some things. The only thing we can't do is post on our own behalf until we're verified. And so we are continuing to work on that. The monthly healthcare observances, those are something, there's a day for everything these days. But that's something that is an opportunity for us to just promote, to create content, and to get engagement from the community. And so we'll continue to work on that. Of course, to expand social media presence in this community, there are still those that are not engaged in social media, but then there are those that really are. And it's a very cost-effective way to get your message out and to support the new brand and just the overall image of the hospital. And so we're working to do that. And then LinkedIn is not something that the facility has had much of a presence on up to this point. We have created a LinkedIn page and hope to soon start utilizing that for some recruitment. And so that's something that the TMH recruitment team, I'm working with them on to see how other facilities do it and how we can best utilize that as a tool for here. So that's all I have. But I want to make sure that you all have my contact information, or you can also reach out to, I work directly with Mr. Walker, and so he's usually my liaison for anybody that needs anything. But if you observe things or have ideas of things you think would work specifically in this community that I may not be aware of, I'm always open to that. Every community is different, and some things that work here may not work in another market and vice versa. So I want to be open to that. And so if you have anything,
No, yes,
absolutely.
I'm not big into social media much.
Mhm.
My business. However, I look at it sometimes. Uh, I would suggest that we look at our small rural area, the people we want to reach here. Everybody knows everybody. I would suggest that we just take a look and see what platform has been the most successful in our county.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll be right. The sheriff's platform is people watch it.
Yeah,
People like to see people.
that's right.
Okay. And I would suggest that we look at I guess Facebook. I don't know. Yeah, Facebook posting. And like when we get a shiny new ambulance, have Mr. Walker there and have a couple of the staff there. Okay. We get a new piece of equipment. Maybe Susie gets on there and says what's going on the clinics. But people like to see people.
Right.
And
I
I would
agree.
suggest that we look at the way social media for our area works. Okay. And kind of just look that way.
Yeah, I
You know?
agree. I agree. People like to see people, and they like to see people they know.
Yeah,
And I think we can
and
certainly
and
boost
everybody
that.
in here has 500 people that knows you.
It's true.
You know,
Yeah.
so they're gonna get on there. They're gonna start looking for people they know.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
and the kids are gonna look for their folks there or their first cousins and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
and try to be. We don't have to be creative. We got a lot of good things going
Yes.
on here.
I
You know?
agree. I agree.
And I'm sure with medical situation, you got to be real careful and can't avoid any stuff like that.
We
But
do.
I would try to look at who's been successful with the social media here and build that way. What do y'all think? Yeah.
I think that you're right, but we want to try and get everybody and encourage everybody here in this room to like,
Mhm.
follow, and repost
Absolutely.
some of those items that come up on Facebook. That's how we expand the network and we get more people involved.
Yeah.
So again, with our Facebook page here at Weems, also with the foundation Facebook page that they have,
Mhm.
if we start with Instagram or anything else, I think we all ought to just employees, board, everybody, because
That's a
that's
great
where
point.
you're going to start to expand the network.
That's a great point. We can post, and as you see, like with the Instagram, there's only 6. A lot of that is because we haven't had a lot of engagement, and so then other people don't know to like and share or whatever that goes. But once you tag people or people see that their granddaughter or their granddaddy or whoever's on there, then it starts spreading, you know. So I hear you. I think more people or more posts with people or telling local stories. I mean, the sheriff's office is a great example of how he's been able to use the platform
Yeah,
to
sure.
really elevate
Like
the
Dr.
work they're
Conrad in the
doing.
emergency room.
Yeah.
The last 6 months, we've treated this many people. We have we have this equipment, we have that equipment. You know, little walkthrough, and it don't have to be very long.
Sure.
But I do think people like to see people.
Right.
That's
I agree. We do have to be a little careful
understand.
but we have processes in place to handle that. We have consent forms and things like that
Oh, yeah.
that we have to get signed, but it's very doable. So we'll be conscious of that moving
Okay.
forward. Mhm.
Like,
One thing, Christy, we didn't talk about much is our website.
Yeah.
And I think we need to continue to monitor the website in the event there's any negative responses or people post anything on there that we can then,
Sure.
and you certainly, if there's something negative in there, you want to be able to get it
Absolutely.
addressed as quickly as possible. So
Right.
I think we've been kind of lagging on our website adherence.
Yeah. The content probably needs to be reviewed more often. we didn't design the website, but we have capability to update the content. And so we've been kind of going page by page and doing that. But I hear you that some of it probably needs to be reviewed and refreshed a little bit. Mhm.
I agree with our chairman and our vice, but let me say overall, um, your report is thorough and it was demonstrated excellent.
Thank you.
And
I
I thank you
appreciate
for
that.
the clarity of it.
Well, thank you.
And I looked for whether or not all of the community was represented.
Okay.
And
And you're comfortable with that?
yes.
Okay, good, good. And if you're ever not, just let me know.
Yeah.
We'll work on it. I do, and in fact, I just checked that we do have, there is a Weems YouTube channel. I don't have login access, but I didn't know that we had it, and so we will look at that, because even I was thinking, anyway, I have thoughts about that as well. So
Well, anytime you're in a new area or you're doing something different you're not used to doing, a lot of people go out to YouTube and see if there's an app there so they can get some general information
right.
and go from there.
Yeah, and I wonder if we could, now you can produce things on your cell phone, on your, iPhone. But I wonder if there's opportunity to create some of those things and just go ahead and upload them very easily, very quickly, to create some content. So if somebody did do a search, then at least we're in charge of what they're finding.
Yeah, and I think that's that's a good point about YouTube, and we'll put that as an action item,
Yeah.
Christy, and we'll make sure that we revamp the YouTube channel, because we
Yeah.
can use that for, physician observances. If Dr. Conrad want to give a talk about jellyfish banks, we can put them on there. A lot of different. We can also highlight a lot of different departments as well. So that's a good
You
thought
have one,
about
you
that.
have another avenue that's available too. I'm not sure how TDC handles it, but you have a number of house cleaning agencies here in this area. I know from the area I am that we take things such as the turtle season. We have brochures. They go into the rental package, and every renter that comes in has that in the package, or either has a magnet on the refrigerator, things like that, that tell those people if you're in an emergency, here's who you call.
So those are presented by the cleaning, not necessarily the rental company, which is who I went to.
Well,
But I'm sure they work
The
hand in
rental
hand,
company-
but it sounds like maybe the cleaning company would assemble those and all that kind of stuff on behalf of the rental company.
they
maybe.
do, but the rental companies should be cognizant of it.
Okay.
And
Well,
that's
I'll
an easy
just-
way to get it.
Sure. That's
Thank
great.
you.
We beat this around a lot.
Okay.
But maybe we're coming to the point, might be some discussion needed. A lot of money comes into this hospital. We're asking for a lot of money. We're getting a lot of money. We're seeing a lot of people. We might need to possibly think about a media specialist, maybe a part-time. I don't know. I'm talking about Queen, the media specialist here. Yeah, to connect with you and like you said, the media specialist could work on stuff like this. Could be doing it because they know. Maybe it's something we need to explore. I think it would be to the point, how many organizations give us we are? We just don't have some kind of media.
Well, I think that's really the role that we play. But if you wanted somebody, well, that's true. Yeah, well, shoot for the stars.
Yeah. What was
Yeah,
happening,
absolutely.
we were using Christy, and then of course I was using Robin until I kind of
I
moved
miss
her.
Robin.
And so Robin was here. But we definitely can look at that. That's
Yeah.
something we can look at, and that way we can have a dedicated person here to connect with Christy,
Sure.
on a consistent basis.
Got a media specialist right here with us to record this meeting.
Right.
We do.
Yeah.
To record the meeting.
Yeah.
We got a media specialist.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Any
All
other
right.
questions? Good. Thank you very much.
He's not. He's in the ED. He's in the ED. Clinics. No, no.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for being here. I just have a short report. We talked last time about the providers in the area leaving. And so for February, when we caught up the first impact of Dr. Newton leaving and Dr. Sanala leaving, Claire Spence, Dr. Bowers will be leaving. The new patients that we're seeing at East were 26 just for the month of February, and for West in this area were 68. And then another little snippet is so you can get an idea of the new patient population expanding here. Ambetter is one of the Medicaid plans that we have. We have a roster last year of 42 patients. This year it's gone up to 463. So, and that's the impact of the progress of what we're doing in the area. So just to let you know, the clinics are growing, and everybody's reporting.
How's your staffing? Are you up staff?
Interviewed the group that left from Dr. Sanala's office, and everybody was interviewed. They went through the process, and they've been hired.
Turn your mic on. Just push the button.
Yeah.
No, that hold it down. There you go.
So they went through the process. They've all been vetted, and they are doing really great. My new nurse practitioner that is going to work for us part-time to help with the onslaught for the tourism season, and the new patients is starting on Friday.
Okay.
So it'll be a nice progression. So, any questions about it?
Yeah, Susie, I have one. Everybody talks about the outpatient facilities or a feeder source for the hospital. I'm wondering if we have any indications or reports or numbers to see how many people that are seen at the clinics then utilize the facilities at the hospital.
We could probably run a referral source report that shows how many patients went based off the referrals from our providers.
Right.
You know, if that
I think
is
it
that
might
what
be-
you're looking for?
Yeah, I think it might be important to see that.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is a report through Athena that can referrals, so that you know that where the instances are being referred to.
Right.
You know, it's a little certainly that we got some individual. If they were referred here for lab or X-ray, or if they were referred somewhere else, you're able to track that.
I think that might be important for us to see that number because everybody's talking about it that way. You know, maybe we could have that for the June meeting or, you know, well into the year so we can get an idea what that would look like.
Yeah, we can pull that report. We also have we can pull it through CPSI, the other electronic health records, because we looked at that report before. So we can get that at the next meeting, the meeting for April. We'll do the fiscal year from October to the end of March.
Right.
You know, so we'll do that and we'll present that to the board. And then we can, on a quarterly basis, maybe a monthly basis, we can probably put it as part of Susie's report.
Along with seeing what's being referred to us, we need to be seeing what's referred outside, and that's where, you know, that report from Athena will help us, because the CPSI will tell us who's being referred to us. But what it indicates is as if we are seeing specialties that are being referred out at a high number, then that helps develop our physician recruitment strategy of what kind of specialists we need to come in. So by looking at the combination of what David said with the CPSI and what we can pull out of Athena, then you can determine, you know, is it orthopedics? Is it cardiology? And then using that to try to recruit those specialties into our community.
Well, also, yes, you're right. And I think that's a great idea because it also will show us what kind of outpatient services we might want to provide at the hospital that are in demand in the community.
Well, and again, when you look at I guess the macro aspects of why hospitals start clinics, employ clinics, it's really to pull the referrals to your hospital, your lab, your x-ray, your outpatient services, and inpatient services. So, historically, in most places, clinics are not profitable on standing on their own. But when you add in the referrals and the revenue that's generated from those referrals from the clinics, that's really the driving force of hospitals entering into arrangements or opening clinics to be able to do that. So,
Thank you.
Is one of the staff members that I hired is a phlebotomist. So we're going to try to offer labs a little bit later into the afternoon so that people that are having non-fasting labs can do labs all day long. They don't go out the next day. So, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
EMS report. Good to see you here.
Good morning. How are we
Morning.
doing?
For you.
We're doing pretty all right. So for EMS, everything's going pretty good so far with the new transition of my position. Staff seems to be doing well, progressing well, and moving on leadership. I heard you asking Miss Susie about staffing. We just brought on one full-time paramedic. We have one part-time oriented starting tomorrow, and then two more that should start onboarding next week for part-time staff. For the public outreach, we did a CPR awareness class on the island. We had about 15 people show up for that. It was pretty good. And then we also had the career. Sorry, is it not talking? Oh. It turned completely off. It just didn't want to hear me, or I didn't want to hear myself in the echo. So CPR awareness on the island, good. About 15 people showed up for that, and then we had the career day at the high school that went well as well last Friday. I just received in these bags. These are through. Hold on a second, I don't want to mess it up. The Child Abuse Death Review Unit for the state of Florida. This unit reviews SIDS cases, abuse cases, and things of, why children are dying or infants are dying at an abnormal rate. So they were able to send me these bags. I got 50 backpacks or 30 backpacks and 50 totes, 30 in Spanish and 30 in English as well. And these just have some little onesies in them and different little things for safety that we'll be handing out. Matter of fact, we gave our first one out last night or Panama. And some little plug-in receptacle things, a couple onesies in here that just say like this side up. Did it turn off on me again? It did. Sorry. It's back up on. It's on now. But then we got these onesies in here, so just something that we're going to be able to hand out to the community as needed. Also, through this same program, I have 20 pack and plays on the way in, and all this is free to us through this program that we'll be handing out to the community as well. Either they can be referral, or if my crews go to a call that they see a child that may need a pack and play as a bed, we can at least get them secured in that as well. So that's good on that end. And this program, hopefully, if everybody in the state participates well, it'll be continued on. So that'll be great. That if we can, and if the 20 plaque and plays are spin it out relatively fast or faster than I think, then I can always submit another order. It may take a little while to, yeah, I don't know about that, but thank you, sir. So that's, something that this just come in this week, and we started on it, earlier in the month. For call volume transports, we transported 100 and I took this data from November 1 to yesterday, so it's not a full 6 months of the first physical. But we had 135 patients that we brought here to Weems. We took 106 to TMH in Tallahassee, 27 at Capitol in Tallahassee at HCA, at Gulf in HCA in Panama, 30, Ascension Bay, which is, that's 38 patients over there, and Ascension Gulf, Port St. Joe, we took 8 patients, and we flew out 12. So those are critical patients. Our transport rate right now is about 63%. I've tasked my supervisors with trying to improve that by 5% so that we, encourage people to go to the hospital more. And that's about it. Any questions for me?
Yeah, I have to ask you about the health fair on May 18th. Are you going to be able to have a truck there?
Yes, sir. I submitted my form yesterday for that. So yes, sir. We'll have a unit there.
Okay.
Hopefully 2, or at least our supervisor truck and our one of our ambulances.
Great.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
How about equipment on the ambulance? Are we up to date with everything?
Yes, sir. We are updated on everything. However, you spoke of a shiny new ambulance, so I'm gonna have to bring it up just because. We actually have all 3 of our new ambulances, the gray and blue color schemes, on the road and up and running at this time. Don't want to jinx any of that. But when I was out at Frazier back in December picking up the 2 units, they were telling me that people that were ordering back in November weren't getting the truck until April, June of 2025. So that's how far back order it is. So I'm going to potentially be starting to work on another submission to get a quote and submit that for, hopefully we'll get 2026 by the time all that happens, because it's just so backlogged.
And I just want to interject, Randall and his team, as well as our team here, radiology, respiratory, nursing, went to career day. They did a great job as well. And what Randall is saying here today, these are some public relations things that we can do on YouTube, Facebook. We can take that, especially the patient part, because that's very important there, about, the onesies and things of that such. So there's a lot of things that, we're doing that we can begin to highlight more on these social media accounts that we mentioned earlier.
And I speaking of the bags, I also plan on ordering some infant CPR cards. They're wallet-sized cards. I get 100 of them, I think, for $16, $17. So I'm going to order some for infant and child to place in these bags as well, just for, to get that early bystander CPR that is very crucial in getting a Ross patient. So yeah, that's about it. Any other questions for me? That was the part where I was just saying where I'm looking at going to get a quote. So just easing in there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Berry had a comment.
I may have missed it somewhere, but is there a report that lists the reasons why people want to be transported to other hospitals? And do we have some type of data on that?
I'd have to look into the actual tracking that aspect of it, but I'll tell you from being on the ambulance myself, most of the time it's wherever their primary care providers are or preference. So I really couldn't tell you that you could put your finger down on it and say that this is the reason, because there's just so many different reasons.
Well, now, when we pick up a patient, he comes here, right? Unless we
Uh,
decide that TMA is closed or something.
Call acuity. So based on what the patient is experiencing at the time, we'll determine what facility we go to. Our first recommendation, if it's a low acuity call, is here. Like we're encouraging people to come here. And then sometimes they're like, well, my doctor's in Panama. Can I go to Panama? Well, if it meets that need that we can bypass this hospital, then yes, we'll take them to Panama. But if they're not, then we'll encourage them to come here.
Well, if you came up over my house and you want to pick me up, and I said, I'm gonna go TMA, you gonna take me there?
If you're sitting there like you are right now, probably not.
I mean, with the,
I mean, I'm being honest. I mean, that would be like I would encourage you.
Ambulance is not a chauffeur, sir. I mean,
Exactly
you know,
right.
and
Exactly.
that's it.
So, and
I
that,
know, my wife got in a little accident in Crawfordville. She wanted to go to one hospital. They said, this ambulance don't take you there.
Yeah.
Point blank. That's it.
Yeah.
This ambulance ain't gonna take you there.
Yeah,
And you're not gonna get another ambulance. So, I mean, it was just right to the chase. So, you know what she did? She went where they told her they would take her, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
that was about it.
yes, sir. Yeah. So we try to accommodate to the patients for for the satisfaction of if not, we're going to get blasted. It's a double-edged sword sometimes.
I understand.
However, we do encourage if it's low acuity to come here first, and then we go from there. And sometimes the crews are told, I guess you will, to call the supervisor to get another input on it, or maybe to encourage them otherwise. But it's strictly based on what's going on at that time with the patient. Yes, sir.
Randall, I have a request.
Yes, ma'am.
When we do any presentations about the EMS system, could we get it in other languages? When I lived in another country, it's not 911 when you're in an emergency situation. You don't understand how to get a hold of emergency systems, right? So we're a tourism area. If we placed it in at least 4 or 5 languages, that people knew how to call 911 and what for, that might help out our large Hispanic community of Creole. Anyone else that's here, I think that'd be a good thing.
Yeah.
Susan and Randall, you all can have a meeting offline and discuss
Sure.
that.
Sure. Also, one more thing I wanted to, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with our CP MIH program that we've been doing. Louis and I started it back when COVID first started, basically community paramedic. We have had 2 with Susie this month where I went out and assessed the patient and did the FaceTime on the phones with Suzette. Positive response from those. Also, we've had a couple with Arabella, Old St. James, that we went out and started some IVs, and those are included under the CP instead of taking our ambulances on a service to go do a service that our supervisors can run out there and do. That program with the state that I've been tracking, it's coming to an end in May. So I have to have all my final analysis and reports to them by May. But then there's going to be state funding going forward to fund that program as well. So yeah.
Thank you. All right, y'all. Let's 5-minute break. 10 o'clock. And now we have the CFO report, Mr. Ramsey.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is really not slide on me here. All right. So I think let's start out with the financials here. If you go to the balance sheet, you'll see that our cash did decrease this month by about $275,000. That was based on a couple different things. We did pay down AP about close to $100,000, so AP's down a little bit. But then additionally, the earnings of the hospitals was a little off this month, which I'll go into some more details here shortly. But we're still at approximately 51 days cash on hand at this point, so still good, but not where we try to get it back up over 60 again, and continue to try to grow that number as time goes on. Correct. Okay, so our net AR is continuing to hold pretty close. Our expected collections are continuing to do well. Our relationship with TrueBridge has really kind of helped us making sure that we're collecting, as well as our effort here internally with Heather and her team and the efforts that they put forth as well. So,
Tom, can you remind me what Athena patients are?
I'm sorry, say that again.
It says on here, accounts receivable Athena patients.
Yeah. The Athena is our medical record system for the clinics.
Okay.
TrueBridge and CPSI is for the hospital. So those are clinic related. Heading down into the liabilities, as I said before, we dropped about $100,000, roughly $80,000, $100,000 in AP. So we paid down AP a little bit here this past month. But if you look at our total liabilities and fund balance, which is basically the ongoing value of the organization, it did rise about $82,000. So we're at currently about $9.5 million. Last month it was 9.4.
Total long-term liability.
Okay, so the income statement, our revenues remained pretty strong, but the net operating revenue did drop. We had two patients that we had to write off to charity that we were attempting to get qualified for Medicaid. They did not qualify, and we ended up having to write them off. So those two patients, one was $135,000, and the other one was $104,000. So $239,000 in charity write-offs in the month for those two patients that we had.
You mentioned those were swing patient beds?
They were, yes, both of them were, correct.
Where do I see that in your numbers here?
The net operating revenue, so your deductions from revenue were $748,000. Of that $748,000, about $239,000 of it were those two patients. The other factor that continues to be an increased cost for us is our salaries. And so to kind of talk about the salaries a little bit, that was a planned increase. That was something that we did in order to bring our nursing staff up, to bring our EMS staff up. We've hired several new people here with the closing of a few clinics. So these are strategic increases that we'll see future growth and everything on, and it's just additional investment into the operations here at this hospital and into our community. So, those will result over time in additional earnings into this hospital. But in the meantime, we do have some increased costs that as we continue to try to grow inpatient and outpatient operations.
Tom, even with the loss of the physicians' salaries that we've had recently, we're still up above, beyond last year's numbers.
Yes. In fact, we'll be able to see the clinic visits here in a few minutes, but the clinic visits are continuing to rise. A lot of that really does relate to Dr. Sanala's office that shut down, but it also relates to the fact that we've picked up additional visits and everything from Dr. Newton whenever he left as well. So I think, all in all, we're starting to pick up a lot of that volume, and we'll slowly start to transition some of those clinic visits will in the future lead to increased labs, increased imaging, the opportunity to try to get mammography and everything continuing to grow, things like that. So there will be additional referral revenues that come out of that.
Yeah, Tom, let me just add with that, since we talked about the overflow from the clinics, the referral base, we've seen our outpatient services, special lab, year to date, we're up 43% of that. You look at radiology, it's up 11.6%. Respiratory, they're up 49%. So, our outpatient is really growing. So we're seeing that referrals got to be from the clinics, not only our clinics, but other outside vendors here in the community is referring into Weems for that.
Sure, yes.
Okay, good. You said Medicaid wouldn't pay that 139,000 and something else.
Correct, yeah. So
Who is Medicaid? I mean, does it go to one person, or do you have an appeal board on that, or?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't quite, either
they're
eligible or they're not, I think.
They turned out not to be eligible. We are still trying to make sure that, we appeal it, but as best that we can. But, typically, once the decision's made, it's hard to actually get anything turned over or anything like that. It's based on qualifications. And you would think some of these people that we end up writing off charity that qualify for charity that would easily qualify for Medicaid, but that's not always the case, unfortunately.
Okay.
So,
And Tom will give an overview of LIP, low income pool, in a minute, that pays for our charity care. They pay 100% of our charges for charity care, I believe. So Tom, he'll talk about that.
Okay.
Low income pool.
in fact, I can go ahead and start talking about that here since we're on the subject and everything, and then we'll kind of go to the bottom line at that point. You have a question, John?
Yes, sir. I can't get off that right off. So we had to come back and question. Is that in contractual adjustments, or is that how's that reflected up here in the allowance for doubtful accounts? Or
Yeah, so when you book an entry like that, there's two parts to the entry. So one of it hits the balance sheet, the other one hits the income statement. So your allowance for doubtful accounts is one side of it. Well, not for doubtful accounts, but it's a contractual adjustment. It's not bad debt. And then the other side of it is the contractual allowance on the P&L. Okay, so, we'll go ahead and hit the net loss here. So we did end up losing $215,000 for the month. So ironically, you write off $239,000, we lose $215,000. Had it not been for those two patients, we would have seen much different results and everything. So, but that is part of it. I mean, we're going to have swings like that from time to time, as does every hospital. Unfortunately, larger hospitals have a whole lot of other things going on that offset. When we have something like that, it's a big, it's a big hit. So just like whenever we have a patient that pays really well that's very big, we have a big increase. Big hospitals don't get the big increase off of just one or two patients. So anyway, so talking about those charity cases and LIP. So LIP's LIP, it stands for low income pool. Basically, it's a program here in the state that uses federal matching funds to be able to help offset the losses on charity cases that hospitals take, as well as Medicaid, where they don't pay quite as much as what you would hope that they would pay. So these funds get distributed amongst hospitals using some different formulas to be able to reimburse. So we'll eventually, in a couple years, get reimburse some of these dollars back through the low income pool, through the LIP program. But we have to carry it until then. So right now, we're getting reimbursed for, a few years ago whenever we wrote things off. So it is part of the nature of healthcare. But you probably also heard a little bit more about the LIP program recently at the chamber meeting presentation that was there. And so let's talk a little bit about that. So this program.
One quick question though: is that a percentage of the funds that you lost, or is it? It's not 100%, right?
Yes and no. It is up to the actual cost of providing the care to the patient that you can get refunded, assuming that there are enough funds within the LIP pool overall in the state to cover everybody's costs. So, I mean, it's fairly complex based on the amount of dollars that actually come through the program and everything. So it's not an easy to say, yes, that you're going to get paid 100%, maybe not. Just depends on when the funds available through the state.
Bill, quote unquote, since we're a public hospital, we're supposed to get paid 100% of our charity costs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's quote unquote. You may not.
But if the pool of funds don't spread to everybody, they don't have the money. They don't have the money, right? Yeah. So it could be a percentage of the loss.
Yeah.
And it's a 2-year waiting period.
Well, I can't.
Well, by the time the
By the time
bureaucracy
it
gets around to
reports
figuring it out,
and
right?
everything. It's
Yeah,
about
and what the state do too, the state also they also project, what your charity costs will be, and they'll give you the money up front. And then if you don't, serve that, then they come back and do a take back. And so we've had that all through the years. That's the nature of the hospital business. I mean, we've had every year since I've been here, either we had a payback or they felt that, they gave us $100, we only provided $30 worth for services, they come back and get $70 back.
Hurry up and put some more charity cases in so we don't have to get money back.
That's a thought. I mean, at one time we were doing a lot of charity care, which was good in a way, but it hurt the bottom line a little bit. But then we were getting paid, a little bit more because once they do the adjustments, they recognize, that you did more. But then we kind of charity care kind of went down a little bit, or either we probably wasn't as identifying it like we should have. And since Tom has come aboard, we really have been identifying that so we can kind of even it out and get paid appropriately.
So unfortunately, and this will show on the audit when the audit's completed and everything for the hospital for last fiscal year. So the state, and this kind of gets a little bit into the weeds, and I'll try to keep it as high level as possible, but the state actually just had a settlement with CMS on these funds, these LIP funds and everything on the matching funds. So the problem that occurred here in this state of Florida was that the formula to calculate what qualified for LIP as defined by the state was different than what was defined by the federal government. Well, federal government won, obviously, and so now there's a big settlement where the state has to pay back these funds. Well, the state has to pay back the funds, so do the hospitals. So it was brought up that we were going in this meeting that we were going to have to pay $300 and some odd thousand back. That is a true statement. It's $335,674 is what we're going to have to pay back related to the years of 2014 through 2018. So that is a true statement. And there's a lot of other hospitals. Yes. So there's a lot of other hospitals that are going to have to pay these dollars back. The difference in the formula, in essence, the dispute, basically in the state's definition, it reimbursed us for greater than our cost. And that is the reason why we have the take back. So that's the take on it.
So you always have a false sense of security.
Yeah, we do. I mean, to a certain extent, it is a challenge, but at the same time, I think, obviously the state, have corrected their interpretations, and I think, everything, is continuing to move forward at this point. But
Well,
fortunately, I mean, these are some large dollar amounts, and some hospitals have a whole lot higher dollar amounts. And so they are going to allow us to pay it back over 12 months, interest-free, is what the Hospital Association is working with them to try to allow all the hospitals to do, especially in wake of everything that's happened with the cybersecurity breach with Change Healthcare and everything here over the past month. So that's a big deal.
Before John asked the question, how is that going to be reflected on our financial statements?
Sure. So that'll be reflected in the audit as a hit that we didn't have recorded. That there'll be an adjustment. I'm sorry. It'll be a year-end adjustment, exactly. So that's when you'll see that.
And just let you know, as we're talking about this, CMS is also will begin to review, I think years 2019, maybe 20, also of the low-income pool, and they will also go back and review dish payments from 2014 to 2018. So that'll be coming up later, but we don't have any information on that per se. But just let you know in advance.
So to give you a sense of the size of this adjustment and everything, the grand total for the state that was disallowed was over $150 million. So
Let's pay it back and keep them out there.
absolutely. So anyway, so that's what's going on with that. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer it. I tried to keep it as high level as possible, but okay. All right. So let's go ahead and jump over to the dashboard report, which is also the PowerPoint that y'all also have in PowerPoint form as well. But so we've already talked about the financial indicators for the most part. The things that we haven't talked about was our days in AR. So that continues to drop. We're at 70.9 days at this point. Last month we were at 73.7. So we're bringing that back down, and we'll continue to work through that to make sure that we get. Our goal is to get down into the 50s at this point. At some point this year, and possibly get below 50 sometime next year. So we have a current goal, and then we have a longer term goal on this as well. So we're making pretty good headway on that at this point. The operating indicators on the report. So you can see our admits are continuing to hold pretty steady. We had 9 admits during the month. The outpatient visits were at 275, which is pretty consistent this year as to where we've been running. Emergency room visits, again, consistent this year. These are a lot higher than what we've been running in previous years, but they have been consistent this year. And I think that's important to note that, we're not just seeing, a 1 month or a 2 month blip that says, oh, well, we had a great month. We're consistently seeing the increased volume, and that's a positive when comparing it and looking at back to previous years. So the ambulance billable runs have actually been down, though. That's something that we'll continue to try to work with, that's a tough one. The more information that's out there, and I think a comment that Susie made earlier about communications about the 911 and maybe the Hispanic language lines and things like that, maybe that could be something that could impact these ambulance runs more positive, especially here in Florida and everything. So I think that's an opportunity. Clinic visits to 539. So those are continuing to grow. It's 1 more than we had last month. So it's pretty right on where we've been here the last couple months. But that is actually continuing.
And Tom, this isn't really our busy season, right?
No, it's not. No. And so keep it also in mind. This was February. It was a 29-day month. So there's a few less days also, but we're still consistent with the others.
The total net income
You're at the bottom for the year-to-date, yes. Correct.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me now? Yeah.
There you go.
Hello, okay, I got you now. That 503,000, is that an anomaly, or is that just what we kind of hope we can continue with?
No, we hope to be able to continue with that this year. If we continue, we'll be at close to 1.2 million at the end of the year. That's our goal, is to continue this.
Versus in 21, 242,000, right?
That is correct. That is correct. So
Now, if you also look at the county hospital sales tax subsidy, that's always a big topic of issue. Year-to-date, we're 662,000 compared to last year-to-date, 1 million. And so the subsidies have went down just a little. And it could be that we may not be getting, probably payments kind of lag behind, so you may see that go up at some point.
correct. And we are accruing for that on the income statement on what we expect to actually get. So I feel like, that'll be fine. But this is based on, when it actually came in cash-wise. So,
Okay.
So I think, what's coming in from the county is going to be okay. It's going to continue to trend like it has been. And so I'm not overly concerned about that at this point, especially at some recent conversations that Heather and I have had. So,
Okay.
Yep. So good questions. What's really kind of nice to see on here as well, though, this is kind of something to take note of, is where our patient cash collections over the year have gone, since we're on that section. I mean, year to date, we're at 3.5 million. So, that it's consistently grown every single year over the last 4 years. And it's taken a pretty good, significant jump this year. So, kudos to Heather and her team, but it's also based on, a lot of the programs that we've brought on board as well and tried to really promote, such as, the swing bed program that we've talked about, the growth in the outpatient, growth in the clinics. And, I think that we'll continue to grow this, especially as we continue to grow things like mammography and CT and in those areas as well. Let's see here. Key projects. So, obviously the retail pharmacy's on hold at this point until we kind of have a better direction as to next steps for the hospital. Mammography program, we had 18 mammographies during the month of February. So, that's consistent with the last couple months. This will continue to grow so far this year. Let's see.
Just going back to the pharmacy situation, I would assume that that's really pending on whether we continue to remain as a rural hospital and keep our 304B status or not.
That
If
is
we don't
correct.
have the 304B status, I would assume we would not probably enter into the pharmacy program.
That is correct. I mean, so if we don't have 340B, then we are, it's not going to be a profitable venture to go through. And, if it's something that the county wants to look at that point, we can always have discussions with them and everything. Right. But I'm not going to commit for the hospital or for the county.
So we're on hold till we figure that out.
That is exactly right. Correct. So mammography, 83 is how many we've done this year. So that's a real positive. That's a potential of 83 lives that we positively impacted out there. So that's a big deal. We'll hope to continue to grow that number as well. In the infusion services program, it's not really growing at this point. We haven't put a lot of marketing towards it yet, but we'll probably need to start doing that as well here soon. I know our nursing staff is looking better than it has in a long time. So, it's not exactly where we want it yet, but, we'd like to have a few more nurses, obviously. So this is about number of nurses and hours, not about the quality, because we have great quality nurses out there. So I'm very proud of the nursing team that we have here. Then the chronic care management program. So we are up to 62 people at the end of February that were enrolled in the program. I got an email last night telling me where we are currently. So, when we see the March numbers, it's up to 80 at this point. And, that's even with, we haven't really started to try to really go after a lot of these new patients from Dr. Sanala's office and things like that yet. This is really on the efforts of the group that we brought in to try to help grow this program, as our team in the clinics have been really kind of getting on board with our operations, our systems, and things like that. So they haven't really had to push anything here locally yet to get that number there. This is really on the group that actually we brought in to kind of help manage. But as this team gets on board more so, we'll see this number dramatically start to increase here pretty soon. But still, 80 patients is a good number, this early on. So that's it. That's all I have for financials. Yes.
October 1.
31st.
Yeah.
October.
Yeah. And
9:30, yeah. October 1 through 9:30.
And Tom, he's the financial person here. And just at the last county commission meeting, I'm just putting it out there, there was a presentation, about, regarding Dr. Wynn, about our financials here. It looks so bad. And just from you reviewing it, do you see any inaccuracies in that 24 fiscal year?
I do. So, I know it was reported that operating earnings that we were minus 3.6 extrapolated this year. And based on the numbers that he would have had at that point in time, that's not an accurate number. It actually is closer to 2.3 or 2.6, sorry. But even with coming out of a bad month, it's still only at this point, which no one would have had those numbers until today anyway. It's at 3.3. Now that's before any tax revenues or anything. And so if you want to do an apples and apples comparison, in looking at how he classifies his revenue, his tax revenues are actually up in his operating section, not in. We are not including that. If you look at our financials so far this year, even off of this rough month that we had, you take out the revenues for the grants. So, if we say no grants whatsoever, the only thing that we've got the benefit of is the tax money and everything, we're at break even for the year. That's where we are. We've had about $500,000 in grants this year that we've claimed. So really, we're running with tax revenues, and we'll continue to run break even plus.
Do we know what his numbers are?
Well, that's a tough one because all we really have access to is his audited financials, right. And it doesn't really, he can't really break down into the details of where he's putting different things. So, I know that, like for example, we have our 340B dollars that's down below in non-operating. If you look at the audited financials, you can't see where he puts his. So it's. I'm not going to make any statements regarding his financials. I mean, it's not my place to do. But I can talk about ours as much as we want to. So.
Okay. I just want to just clear that up because he is the chief financial officer for our hospital, and it was some information shared. So I know he wanted to say something about it.
Any other questions?
One more question.
Yep, sure.
503 net income.
Correct.
Now, is some of that grants or grants?
About 500,000 in grants. Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? All right, sounds good. Thank you.
We have Dr. Conrad.
Dr. Conrad, you're back on the agenda.
Hey, there we go.
Hey.
I'm sorry I was delayed down the hall there. Had a couple of fires to put out. I have absolutely nothing new, no new update for the ER. We're cranking along like always, including this morning. Do have a fun announcement. 3 weeks ago, I got a nice invitation to go to a private screening for those involved with a movie that'll be coming out soon, made by director Victor Nunez, who made Yuli's Gold, and this was screened up at the on-campus cinema there at FSU. And this movie is called Rachel Hendricks. And so y'all can all get ready to applaud, because I did sit through all the credits, and there are definitely some, it's a drama, and there are some scenes you could clearly recognize the west side of Alligator Point. The director refused to say which house most of this was filmed at. But you could tell it's somewhere in St. Mark's, because there's only one piece of coastal terrain that looks like that. And anyway, the movie is called Rachel Hendricks, and the credits rolling at the end include special thanks to Weems Memorial Hospital, Franklin County EMS, and David Walker, CEO. So he's got a film credit.
All right. I need any autographs. Y'all want autographs now?
No word about the royalty checks. I don't know anything about that. That's all I know. Any questions? Yeah.
Thank you all. Here's my report here. First of all, I want to just thank Dr. Conrad, for a lot of the different things that he does here, in, just participating and, being willing to help us, especially medically here, and thinking outside the box. So we thank Dr. Conrad. He doesn't know this yet, but, we're going to have Christy interview him, about some of the health observances, what we were talking about earlier, and we'll post it on YouTube and all that. Dr. Conrad is good for that. So, we'll look at some of the top issues that are coming through the ED, and then he can begin to talk about, that somewhat like we did when we had COVID-19. We did some specials with that. So board report, I have board actions here. The dates of the following policies need to reflect 2024 fire plan, code red policy, hurricane plan policy, and tornado plan policy. We just need to update those policies to have 2024 instead of, 2018. No changes. These policies will go part of our comprehensive emergency management plan, technically. Craig Gibson is not here today. He would have brought that forward. So we just need board action for approval to change those dates to reflect 2024.
We need board action on that?
Yes.
No changes. So I need a motion to, different date, maybe
It's, I guess the discussion would be, that do we need to look at them for any updating that needs to happen?
They're in your book. You can either we can come back next month. You know what I mean? You can review them. Basically, just the date. Yeah, we just basically we just.
I don't want to vote on something.
Okay. All right. Well, they're in your book, and basically what you can do, you can take it home out of your book there, and review them, and basically we just changing the date on the policy. Okay. Secondly, we have my second item. Dr. Nguyen presentation presented a proposal to the Franklin County Board of County Commission to acquire Weems. The presentation can be viewed on Forgotten Coast TV, YouTube, our Facebook accounts. In addition, if you need a hard copy of the presentation, we will make one for you. And I just want to encourage the board, as you're reviewing information about Doctors Memorial Hospital and Weems, look at both the latest audits, our 2022 audits of Weems and the 22 audits of Doctors Memorial. And then once we have the audit from 2023, you can also compare those particular audits as well. So just do your due diligence when you're looking at these particular proposals. And I know Michael Kozar will speak about that a little later about what Alliant is proposing. But I just want to encourage the board just to do due diligence on, as a due diligence on those items themselves as well.
David? I did a little homework here because I was very concerned about this. I did a little spreadsheet here for the 2023 Doctors Memorial Hospital versus 2022 Weems annual reports. I did the income statement and the balance sheet. So if this helps the board take a closer look at that hospital versus who we are, I'd be glad to share these with the board. Maybe, John, you want to look at them? I would love for you to take a close look at the financials between those two organizations, because if we have to go to a workshop and talk about this, I think we need to be on point that this hospital, that hospital, Doctors Memorial, in the financial analysis by the auditor indicates that they may not be a going concern. Their debt is $14 million in bonds, which they haven't paid since 2018. They've had 3 forbearances on those bonds. They're drowning in debt, and there's no way that we want the people who run that hospital to be running our hospital. That's my bottom line. So, down. Take one, pass it down. It's at least a starting point to get an idea of where we are. And I think if you look at the second page of this spreadsheet that I prepared, what you really want to note is the liabilities. If you look at their long-term debt versus our long-term debt, theirs is $14.8 million. Ours is $91,000. And if you look at their total net position, that's their net worth on this hospital, they're in the red to $6.5 million versus we're in the black on $6.4 million. So if you, I mean, the quick and easy thing to do is just, you know, I think he used the word a no-brainer in his presentation. If you look at liquidating on this date in 2022, you look at liquidating all of the assets versus all the liabilities, total assets minus total liabilities, they'd be in the red at $6.6 million, where we would be in the black at $6.4 million. I mean, that is a big difference in the viability of our hospital as a going concern versus their hospital as a non-going concern. I just want to put that out there.
Do we extract in those numbers, is there hospital tax on there? Are we, funds that came in from the hospital tax, are they embedded in our numbers?
Well, if you look at the bottom here,
I
transfers in. I mean,
Okay.
that's, yeah. Yep.
And you take those back out, and you do a comparison, right?
Well, I'm not the CPA here.
Well,
That's why I want you on.
I just want to make sure.
That's why I
that
want
we're
you on
looking at
board.
apples with apples.
That's why I want you on board looking at this.
They do get.
They get sales tax money also.
Okay.
And that's why I said, you know, what we can do, just look at, as board members, you know, look at the latest audit. You know, technically, you can compare the two. And I just want the board to get that information. I'm glad, Bill, you did analysis. I would like for John also to look at it, because, you know, he's CPA, you know, just to make sure that the board.
I'm a retired
What-
CPA under the new Florida law.
Okay, retired. He's a retired CPA, but I would like for him to look at it as well, and then maybe, you know, at the next meeting, you know, to just give an update of what y'all finding. And Bill, you send me that document, I can make sure I send it to Michael Marone as well. You know, so commissioners, I just want everybody to have the right information as we begin to look at these different companies, and that's anybody, you know, that will come before us.
I think you're going to, in the long run, you're going to have to go back in front of the commission after that person made that presentation.
Yep.
You're going to have to go back in there, and you're going to have to dispute to them why there's a difference.
Right here.
Well, but that's why we're
Well,
saying, that's why we're saying.
It's right there.
that-
I'm not going to get in an argument, but it's right there, but we don't know the basis of what all these numbers. they're in Mr. Zester's head, but we don't have it really documented. So if I see an audit trail, what makes up this number makes it a lot easier.
This is Weems versus Doctors Memorial. You should have copies of these.
So we're talking about the audit.
These are the annual report audits.
Yeah.
You should take a look. You should get a copy of these and take a look at it yourself. I would really love you.
Where are they?
You can make copies.
Are they in the book?
No.
Okay, what I did, and we can move on from this. I sent a copy to all the board members of Doctors Memorial audit, and then I'm sure the board members have our audit, but we'll make sure you get the audit so you can take a look at that. That's all.
I think we need to have this information. There's another audit coming up.
Yeah, the 2023 audit, I mean, it's,
Gentleman said he had turned everything around.
It's the same audit firm that does both hospitals. Car rigs, do both hospitals.
I just think it'd be premature to have this. When the audit comes up, have something like this too.
yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, because what happened, that's why I say you look at the latest audits. The 2023 audit is being done now, so we'll take a look at that audit as well. And that's for the hospital board, county commission. Technically, you look at both of those audits, and then as you begin to make decisions, you got a solid.
I am gonna get this to Mr. Long. I think we need to have this and
Yeah, besides getting Weems 2023 audit, we need to get a copy of the Doctors Memorial Hospital 2023 audit.
Yeah, they're a public hospital, so that'll be public
We have to put
record.
it out.
Yeah.
But we don't know where they are with their audit people. I mean,
No, we don't. Not yet. But I just think those information would be good. You can compare, apple to apples for both hospitals. That's all. Yeah. Rural Emergency Hospital, item number 3, financial feasibility comparison. Just to give you some information, the legislature has passed with unanimous support on March 6th of the Rural Emergency Hospital licensure bill. The bill is headed to the governor's office. As soon as the governor signs it, then the bill will go into law. There are 21 hospitals that have converted to Rural Emergency Hospital nationally. Mr. Kozar will give a presentation to the hospital board in a few minutes on the overall structure of Rural Emergency Hospital. And really after that presentation, we will want the hospital board, to recommend to align to do a financial analysis. What would the Rural Emergency Hospital look like for Weems? And then Mr. Kozar can present that to the hospital board and then present it to the county commission. And that way you can begin to have some good information as well, because a lot of talk is going on now about Rural Emergency Hospital. And I just want the board to have, more up-to-date information.
I think the time has come to look at some kind of comparison with this. It is not in the law yet, but I'm sure the governor's gonna sign it.
Mhm.
He'll sign that. I would ask for a motion.
Wait. Let's wait.
Let me do the presentation. Okay, good. That's fine. Okay, good. That's fine with me. That's good. I just want to get this done.
We can do that after.
I just want to see look at it, I mean, which way that we might want to go. Go ahead.
And item 4, new prospective radiology provider. We've talked about this a lot. Tom and I met with the radiology provider that is interested in doing service with us. Our clinical team have met with them as well. Attorney Schuler and I have reviewed some contract language with that, and if the radiology company will agree with some of the edits that we want an agreement regarding the contract language, we'll come back before the board and bring that agreement for your review. And then after your review, we'll take it to the county commission if the board is good with, to move to another radiology company. Although we still have some uncertainty what will happen with Weems in a way, but that's just, do we want to move in with the new provider with all the different uncertainties. So we have to weigh all of that as we take a look at that. So I just want to just give the information to the board a little ahead of time for that. Item 5, lastly, Rural Hospital Capital Improvement Grant Program. We were in a meeting with the Agency for Healthcare Administration and Department of Health, rather, about the new monies that the governor.
David,
yeah.
one thing, this contract though, it's gonna come to the.
Yeah, the county will have to approve it, the hospital board will have to approve it, and what we'll do, we'll let the hospital board review the language as well, and then if you all are okay with it, approve it, we'll take it to the county commission. You know, with the last Rural Hospital Capital Improvement Grant Program, you know, we put in the grant for the change out hospital doors, the new telephone system, as well as a new CT machine. And so there are some new monies that will be coming starting July 1, and we'll be preparing some ideas, you know, how we want to spend that money. One of the things is that, you know, with a new CT machine, as you can see, our CT is outside. You know, the idea is to get the grant money to retrofit my office here, you know, to bring the CT inside the building. And we have quotes for 2 different CT equipments. We have a Philips quote, we have a General Electric quote, and then we have 2 quotes to retrofit the room. To retrofit my room, my office, and the office next to me, for GE is right around maybe $360 some thousand. Philips maybe 400 and some thousand. Most of our equipment in here is GE equipment here. And so, but the state of Florida has this grant money that would give you, you know, through the Rural Hospital Capital Improvement Program to do that. So the idea is to get the CT machine and the room renovated with grant money for that.
I think Dr. Conrad might want to address that. That'd be wonderful if we had that CT machine for you.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what, whoever works with it got to know every combination to get in that door and up ramp, down ramp, and outside.
That would be preferable on every level, patient, customer perception.
Would be that much better. It would be more efficient. Yes to all of the above.
Yeah, you're already, I had one, you know, busted my head open, and you're already not feeling well, they take you inside, outside, and then you help get through the door, and we've done good with what we have. This,
Another thing,
this is from my own personal experience, this needed that.
it hasn't happened a lot lately, but it has happened a number of times, and Craig Gibson can speak to this too. You wheel them down the hall right in here, that's great. You take them out there, you're on a stretcher or a wheelchair, you've got to go up this lift. And a few times the lift has broken, sometimes in the middle of weather. So you're stuck on this lift, maybe you're getting wind blown on you. That's just another set of potential hassle.
I think we need to push hard.
Yeah, so that's what, we have the money right now to buy the CT machine. It's just that, you know, we'll make that purchase, you know, before June 30th, because we have to do that by then. And then July 1 is a new grant year, and the state is telling us that, hey, the money is ready to fall. So as soon as you put your proposal in, we get money to you at cost. So what we'll do, we'll put a proposal in for the new monies to revamp my room and the office next to me for the CT machine. So I'm just telling you, that's where we're heading, you know, and that'll be good for customer service, because when it's raining out there, the wind is blowing, taking patients out there, it's not good at all.
Do I remember the grant was 500,000?
Yes, 500.
500,000.
Yes, $520-something thousand. Next, the auditor, I don't have it on as part of my report, but I want to let you all know, the auditor is preparing the clinic and EMS pull-out data for the commission. I'm sure John he's been asking about that for a while. So Brian Hall did contact us to get some updated numbers for 23. So that'll be very good to have. You'll begin to break the clinic cost out, and then the EMS cost out as well. And then, yeah, he's working on that now. He'll be meeting with the commissioners next week, from what we were told. And so that'll be very good to have also. So we'll see, can he share it with you all when he's finished meeting with the commissioners.
Dave, when is he presenting to the Board of County Commissioners?
I know he's meeting with them individually next week.
But is he going to have
Yeah, I don't know yet. I don't know about that, but we'll make sure we double around and make sure we get that information too. You know.
Well,
Go ahead, John.
for full disclosure, I just want to call today that I've been invited by 2 of the county commissioners to go with them, sit down with them. So make sure y'all are aware of that.
Okay.
Cool.
They're having meetings
Order.
next week with Ryan Hall individually. They can't be together.
Yeah, and I think that'll be good because, John has another set of financial eyes, technically. And so I think that's going to be, that'd be very, very well. And also the auditor is working on the audit coming up. And so once he's finished, he'll come back before the county commission.
Will you give us a report on that when you, after you meet with them?
I'll do my best. Let's put it there. Okay.
If you're gonna meet with them for the board.
I'm going there to listen.
Because some of the information, if they make individually, I don't know how much information will be public at that time, but we'll get the information either way. Because it's our numbers.
John, you sure you don't want to be the treasurer on our board?
You already asked me.
All right, that's all I have, and then Michael Kozar will come out.
I didn't tell y'all, retired CPA.
Well, we're all retired from something here on the board.
Okay, we have Mr. Kozar here with a line update. Good morning.
Good morning. With all the talk, and certainly as a response to the presentation that was in front of the Board of County Commissioners last week, I wanted to present to this board an overview of the Rural Emergency Hospital so that you all have an opportunity to understand what it is. And again, once I conclude, I have a recommendation that I'd like for you guys to entertain as far as moving forward with that. The Rural Emergency Hospital was really created in 2023, and by the definition, a rural emergency hospital is a new Medicare provider type that provides 24-hour emergency services but does not include inpatient care. The designation was really created as in response, coming out of the pandemic, what was happening, a number of rural and critical access hospitals were really struggling financially. And to be able to keep healthcare services in those communities, the government, CMS, created the designation of a rural emergency hospital to make sure communities continue to have access to healthcare services in their community.
Question already?
Sure.
So you went to the emergency room and the doctor decided, let's say, your blood sugar's off. I don't know much about that. And it needs to be stabilized, correct? Is that right, Dr. Conrad? So you would admit them to the hospital. The doctor checks him out and says, well, you might need another day in there. Then would you have to be loaded up and transferred?
By the regulation, if you're going to be designated as an inpatient and your stay is going to be more than 24 hours, then you have to be transferred to another facility. So I'll use another example. A lot of patients come to the emergency room with chest pain.
Yeah.
The doctor may say, yes, but, you seem to be doing okay, but we got to wait for the troponins to come back to really determine whether you're actually having a heart attack or not. And those troponins take how many hours typically to?
We typically will do 3 sets, one when you come in.
Yeah.
One 6 hours later, one 12 hours.
Right. And a lot of times that type of patient can stay in a rural emergency hospital because you're classifying them as an observation patient. So you can keep that individual until those troponins come back, which we would normally do now, as we would. But, the definition is that you're not allowed to provide inpatient services. You can only provide observation services. So that's where the definition comes in. They would have to be classified as an observation patient for, on average, and it's in this presentation, for your annual average, the people cannot stay more than 24 hours. Now, it's an average. That means, you can go more than 24 hours, but at the end of the year, the federal government's going to look and say, of all these people that you put into your observation status, how long were they in your hospital? If that average is at 24 hours or less, you're good. If it's 26 or 27, 28 for the whole year, then they're going to say, you got an issue.
Got an issue.
You got an issue. And what I mean is just that, they're concerned you're keeping patients too long. Again, to the eligibility criteria to be a rural emergency hospital is that be in a rural area and currently licensed as a critical access hospital, or what they call a rural prospective payment hospital as of December 27, 2020, with fewer than 50 beds. So those are the criteria, and there is discussions going on to move that date from 2020 back to 2015, because there's a number of community hospitals that closed. Cuthbert, Georgia is another example. They closed in October of 2020. By definition, they may not meet this requirement because they weren't open on December 27, 2020. You must be a licensed Medicare provider. That means you have to be a Medicare provider as of that date or currently. You have to meet all the standard training and certification requirements of any other hospital facility. Again, we talked about the annual average length of stay requirement. Of course, you have to meet the state licensure requirements, which David referenced earlier, that's sitting on the governor's desk right now to approve the designation of rural emergency hospital. We don't know if ACA's going to come down with any specific requirements that they may have for the state of Florida, but you would have to meet any of those state requirements.
But ACA did say that they're shooting for July 1 to get this licensure active. So they're shooting for July 1, 2024 to get it active.
Right.
July of 24?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you just had a law passed, passed by the legislature, sitting on the governor's desk. That will be a statute. Okay. Now, what has to take place? ACA comes along and has to write rules. Okay? How it's going to implement. Right? What is ACA telling us, y'all, what rules they're going to change?
We've not heard, the last that I heard in my conversation with Jack Plaguey from ACA, that, they're initially going to use the CMS rules to be able to govern this. Now, will there be some changes down the road that the state wants to add additional requirements in there? I think that's possible, but, to be able to get hospitals that want to convert going down this path, a lot of, not only Florida, but a lot of states, what they have done is just adopted the CMS regulations that have been established for the creation of this. Now, will there be any particular ones? There possibly could, but again, ACA has been working also on this. I mean, we've talked with ACA since last year. They know this, they knew this was coming, so I think that they're going to be fairly prepared.
Well, okay, but that goes back, what I guess I'm trying to say is that that'll go back to the situation that we really can't make any decisions until we know what those rules are.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I don't know exactly, but I don't think they will be any more stringent than the rules that we have for a critical access hospital right now. So, you know, if you look at, you know, I mean, on the one side, you know, we have regulations that we have to meet as far as a critical access hospital. I don't anticipate those regulations being any more stringent than the rules we're following right now.
Mike, you want to tell them who Jack Plague is?
Jack Plaguey, he's really over licensure for ACA. You know, I've been working closely with Jack mainly because of the Graceville Hospital that has closed a number of years ago. And, you know, we're trying to reestablish that hospital as a rural emergency hospital there.
Yeah. And we were on a call with Deputy Secretary Kim Smoke. She's over the whole licensure department for the state of Florida, but she was the one that was saying that July 1 would be their time frame to get this out. And so we'll be going to look at the rulemaking then also.
Okay. Again, we have to have a transfer agreement with a level 1 or a level 2 trauma center.
Question on that, sir?
Sure.
Well, not a question. I want to add something to the context there for our local ecosystem, just so everybody understands. To your point, Duffy, that we're talking about, if somebody was staying for stabilizing something more than 24 hours, and there are common cases, examples of which are hyponatremia, blood sodium being too low, takes a couple of days to turn around. Pancreatitis takes 2 to 4 days to really turn around well before we can go home. Ileus, small bowel obstruction, things of this nature that are not immediately life-threatening, but they have to be in the hospital for a few days. Courtney will tell you, and so will Randall, that we have had, because of medical economics, because of staffing issues at these places with which we would need a transfer agreement, Tallahassee Memorial, Bay, Capital, pick one, that frequently, and I mean frequently over the past year and a half, 2 years, we have had difficulty getting patients transferred because they were all backed up in the room. It is common now for us to call to try to transfer someone to TMH, and they say, we'll accept them, but you can't send them yet because we're 20 deep in patients that need to get admitted here. And my point being, this would have an effect on backing things up here, and it would also have an effect on an additional burden for EMS with more transfers. I'm not trying to throw cold water. I'm just adding that as a point of context.
When you transfer somebody, when you decide to transfer them, in the case you're talking about, will you be automatically admitted, or you gotta go through the whole admission process again? You go to the emergency room, or you go to our room?
If they are coming from the ER, not the floor, that is an ER to ER transfer.
I'm talking about a floor.
Floor, they go to the floor, or ICU, or what have you. Yeah, definitely. They don't go to the ER. Right.
I know TMH a lot of times, you go to the emergency room, but you admit, you sit in the ER for 20 hours, something like that.
If we, well, and another problem that the docs will have, because of course with EMTALA you have to have an accepting physician on the other side. We, even with a transfer agreement in place, again, I'm just trying to give context, I'm not advocating either way, we will run into a lot of heartburn and a lot of pushback because whatever ER doc I'm talking to, or whatever hospitalist I'm talking to at the time, is going to say, well, it's just pancreatitis. What, you guys can't handle that there? And then I'm gonna have to well, yeah, we can, but we've got this designation, so we really can't anymore. That's gonna happen a lot.
Well, and again, I recognize, the points, and that's where, one of the challenges that we're gonna have is that we're gonna have to sit down with those hospitals and have that discussion that we no longer can take care of these patients, who, to be there. So hopefully, but I know how it works in real life, that, they understand we no longer can take inpatients at our facility. So the comment of, well, why can't you take them there? We're no longer an acute care hospital. We're a rural emergency hospital. So we can't, but that again is going to have to come down from the administration of those facilities to educate the ER doctor that's sitting in Bay or Gulf Coast or Tallahassee Memorial to understand that, they can't get with Dr. Conrad and say, why can't you take care of them here? We can't take care of them here because they're going to require a length of stay longer than we're by law allowed to have.
Well, one other anecdote that also goes to this point, just trying to look ahead. Now let's think pre-pandemic, when all the rules went crazy. I was moonlighting here in January of 2000, and things were even more rustic looking in the ER than they look now. And I got a call from Gadsden County Hospital and said, yeah, we're all full and we're transferring a heart failure patient to you. And I said, whoa, no, you don't transfer to us, we transfer to you. And they said, no, you don't understand. We have called from Jacksonville to Pensacola. You have the last remaining hospital.
There was a huge blue on. We had the last remaining hospital.
So, in the event of something like that, what do? I mean, we can't not take care of people. And will this reduce our regular nursing staff so that all of a sudden, if we have to respond to this, we don't have any nurses to call on?
Yeah.
These are logistical questions.
Sure, exactly.
Those are the type of questions that I would think you are having discussions with the guy at ACA about, because that's when they make those rules, they're going to have to figure out those exceptions. And if the bureaucrats don't understand that right up front, they're going to just make it black and white.
I agree 100% because there are, and again, I mean, if anything that came out of the pandemic, we learned that, a lot of what we functioned as critical access hospitals and how we operated and types of patients we take, type of patients we cared for, changed during that period of time. So, being able to sit down with those individuals that are developing those rules, through the Florida Hospital Association and all of our, mechanisms we have to influence those rules, we have to be able to do that because there's going to be the exceptions that come up. And there's going to also be, what we hope, again, bottom line, whether you keep a patient 24 hours or you keep them for 4 days, you're going to do what's right for the patient. But again, as long as that average is not, I can use examples of critical access hospitals right now that their length of stay is longer on patients than the 4 days you're allowed for a critical access hospital. I'm sure you guys have kept patients here longer than 4 days, which by the letter of the law, you shouldn't keep a patient longer than 4 days, but you do keep them because it's an average. It's an average that you can do that. We also know that there's critical access hospitals that you're licensed for 25 beds that have had 35, 36, 37 inpatients at any day in their hospital. But then again, on an annual average, you're not more than 25 patients in your facility. So there are some of those exceptions, but to your point, I think whoever's writing these rules need to understand what Dr. Conrad is outlining, because these are some of the circumstances that are going to come up as we move forward with this.
Mike, let me,
Just the 24-hour period start.
Right.
What's the starting point of the 24 hours? Until he gets all his tests back?
Right.
To me, from that simple explanation, 24 hours doesn't start until when the tests are all
Well,
back.
the 24 hours would start when the ER decides that individual is going to be an observation patient. So they could be in the ER for 10 hours, and then the doctor says, okay, I'm going to admit them to observation. So your 24 hours would start until that determination would be made.
and I just want to add also, one good thing will come out of this, because you have other states that have implemented this, so you're going to have some good lessons learned. This is a map. I can give you all this map after the meeting. This is the map of the different states that have implemented REHs. And then it's about 21 hospitals now that have converted. And so there are some good lessons learned, technically, from these particular hospitals, because I'm sure they had some issues, some of the things that we're discussing today. Hopefully the state can, our state can begin to address some of those same issues that we're talking about.
And one of those hospitals is an Alliant affiliated hospital. They're not a managed hospital, but they're affiliated with us through our purchasing agreement, and it's in Anniston, Texas, is one of the hospitals. So, you know, we've learned from some of their experiences as far as they were probably number 2 or number 3 in the whole country that converted to a rural emergency hospital. You know, I mentioned Graceville. You know, Align is looking at working with Graceville up there. We're also in Tennessee, hopefully going to be very soonly helping a large tertiary facility that has an operating responsibility for a rural hospital, assisting them and converting them to a rural emergency hospital. But you know, again, just two other points here. You know, the rural emergency hospital is going to have to meet the conditions of participation, just like other hospitals in the country. You know, you have to have an action plan, including provisions for staffing, a transition plan, and a description of the services that you're going to offer. Again, you have to offer 24/7 emergency and observation services with an annual length of stay of less than 24 hours. We just discussed that. Your ER has to be staffed 24/7 with a physician or mid-level practitioner. You have to provide diagnostic, laboratory, and radiology services. Of course, you have to have an aspects to provide pharmacy and storage for medications for the organization. Discharge planning by or under the supervision of a registered nurse, social worker, or other qualified personnel. Okay. Some of the services that you can provide as a rural emergency hospital: ambulatory and transport services, which would be your EMS type of services. You can provide behavioral health services, care through your rural health clinics or primary care, so it doesn't affect your clinics or anything you're operating there. You can provide a distinct part skilled nursing facility. Some of these facilities that are taking their beds out of service are looking at using those beds for a skilled nursing facility. Some of those hospitals, you know, because as I will talk here later, give up the swing bed. You're not able to provide swing bed patients, but for them to be able to capture those patients to do the same rehabilitative services. They're converting their beds to what they call skilled nursing beds, so that those same patients that you're treating in your swing bed program could be into your skilled nursing program to get that rehabilitation services that we talked about earlier in the program.
And Michael, just on that point, what kind of licensure issues are we going to come up against if we had to change over to the skilled nursing from what we currently have?
Well, there's a whole nother division of regulations and requirements for skilled nursing, and in the state of Florida, there's still a certificate of need requirement for skilled nursing facilities. There's not for hospitals, but there is, and I use an example. Chipley Hospital, they have 34 beds that are skilled nursing. It's surveyed separately, it's licensed separately, so there's a lot of different requirements to operate a skilled nursing facility versus a hospital.
And so we may have to, if that was the case, we may have to upgrade our facility as well to accommodate that licensure, because now it's a brand new game. Nothing's going to be grandfathered.
But that I can't honestly say. There are requirements though, and I don't know the square footage of your rooms, because there are square footage requirements for skilled nursing, and how big a room has to be, and whether it's a private or semi-private, because most skilled nursing facilities are semi-private. But there are those requirements that you have to do. So, I mean, it would be, a significant undertaking to really look at going down that path for a skilled nursing facility. You can provide, and I'm not recommending this at all, but under the regulations, you can provide low-risk labor and delivery services. And this is certainly for some of these locations that there may be a 2-hour drive from where these facilities are to the next facility, and still there's a number of critical access hospitals that still provide OB services and deliver babies at their facilities. Because under a critical access hospital, you can still have an OB labor and delivery department. But if you're going to do this under a rural emergency hospital, you have to have a provision and have a surgery suite to be able to do emergency C-sections. So, which I don't know if we have a surgery suite here, but I don't think that is an endeavor we would want to undertake here. You can provide maternal health. You can, if you have a surgery suite. You can, and I think in the presentation last week that was before the county commissioners was referenced the hospital in Defuniak Springs, and their plan is to move to a rural emergency hospital there, but they're going to open 2 ORs as part of that facility. You can still provide outpatient surgery at your facility, or in the case if you wanted to do endoscopies, colonoscopies and stuff, you could still do those facilities in a rural emergency hospital. You can put, again, as I mentioned, outpatient surgery, post-hospital care, as long as it's not inpatient, and that could be, therapy, it could be home health, it could be hospice, it could be any of those services also. Telehealth, and again, additional outpatient medical and health services do not exceed the annual per patient average length of stay of 24 hours.
I have a question.
Sure.
So, at the top of your presentation, it says may include. REH services may include.
Yeah.
So, under the critical access, we already include all of these?
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't. We're not providing maternal health. We're not providing outpatient surgery. But not everybody does it now. Not ev- you know, most critical access hospitals, I referenced earlier maternal care, most critical access hospitals do not deliver babies anymore at their facility. There are a few that do, and again, they're typically in communities where there's a huge distance between their community and the next larger facility, or they have a provider that's still, in a lot of these cases, there still are family practitioners out there that deliver babies, that are not obstetricians or gynecologists, but there are still family practitioners because they're still trained in a lot of cases to deliver babies. So, there's a number of them out there that still do that. But you're not, what I'm saying is you're not required under a critical access to have all these, and you're not required under a rural emergency hospital to have those. So there's on these services here, there's no requirement that you have to have those services, but you could provide those if you want. And again, this is just a really high level overview of the reimbursement for rural emergency hospitals. CMS, to assist hospitals in making this conversion, the CMS facility payment would be $276,233.58 per month, or basically $3.3 million annually to the facilities that convert to a real emergency hospital.
Michael, is that in perpetuity, or is that just a one-time?
Right now, there's no end date for that funding. There has been articles and information that I've read that they expect that to go up next year, the amount that they're going to reimburse for this. But again, as we all know with the federal government, we don't know, depending upon, political things that happen, you never know when they could come in and say, no, we're going to stop funding this. But, again, the likelihood of that, they may reduce some of the funding, but again, as David said, there's 21 hospitals already converted to this. There will be more this year. A lot of hospitals, as I mentioned before, coming out of the pandemic, continue to struggle financially. And it's a choice between having a hospital in your community or not having a hospital or any healthcare services in your community. I think that there will always, and I equate this to when critical access came about. The same questions, and I'm been in the industry long enough, and I remember when critical access came about. And, everybody had the same questions about critical access that we're having right now about the rural emergency hospital. And I can tell you, sitting in many board meetings during that period of time, the question was, oh, we're not going to be a real hospital anymore. Well, as we found out that a lot of these communities are in, still have their facilities right now because they converted to them. We're seeing right now, and if you just look at the Alliant hospitals, we just converted 2 hospitals from a PPS to a critical access because they could no longer make it as a PPS. So, it's just a progression, but, I can tell you the same questions we have about the rural emergency hospital we had when critical access came about. And again, the REH services are going to be reimbursed at the Medicare outpatient. What's the OPPS is basically outpatient rates, plus 5%. Non-REH services are same as the PPS facilities. and for the providers, they're paid on the Medicare fee schedule. And as I mentioned, REH will not be permitted to provide inpatient or swing bed services and participate in the 340B program. Now, again, there is on the federal side, there is a number of discussions that are going on federally about including 340B into the future. And again, I referenced the critical access when it came out. A lot of the regulations changed from its inception to where it is now, and we anticipate the same thing happening here. Whereas this program grows, there will be changes to what is allowed and what is not allowed. There's been discussions about swing bed. There's been discussions about the 340B program and allowing that to be a part of it. So, and also in some states, there's been, discussions about, psychiatric care, distinct part units of what you could be able to offer at your facility. And again, really my last slide here is just kind of a diagram of what you need to be focusing on or looking at as if you're really investigating going down, a rural emergency path. So again, I'd be happy to answer any questions on the presentation that you may have on this.
But I would like to see.
Well,
I mean, really, what we want to see is, I think Duffy's on the point. What we want to see is the numbers. I mean, basically what we get out of the 340B program and the swing beds and all that, I want to see that in comparison to the funding that we're going to get from the government, which, okay, they say it's in perpetuity, but who the hell knows? And on your point about the, moving to this REH, if we take the move and the designation, the 340B may not be around for us to pick up later when it's acceptable to have that within our program. Sure, that's going to be picked up by another rural hospital within a 35-mile distance, don't you?
No. Oh, the critical access?
Yeah, so we move to REH, and another hospital picks up the 340B.
Right? Well,
Well, picking up the drug program that we left behind if we moved.
No. The 340B is not tied to a critical access facility. It's based upon really your clinics that you operate and being able to qualify for that drug program through that. Because right now, and I'll just use, the hospital that's down the road at Fort St. Joe, they're probably already in the 340B program. So it's not they're picking that up from us.
Okay. But, if we go to the REH, we will not have that access currently today.
Exactly. We would not have that currently today. And, and again, once you move to a rural emergency hospital, you do give up your critical access designation. And as the regulations state right now, is once you give up that designation, then for us to be able to qualify under the current rules, we would not qualify. So. Sure. Well, what my recommendation is, and I said this on the onset when David brought it up, I would ask the board to give me authorization to go ahead and do a financial analysis of basically the pros and cons, where the revenue comes, a detailed financial look at what it would mean for Weems to convert to a rural emergency hospital. Because as we talked about, you know, we go back to this slide, you know, and this is a little bit misleading because it says, you know, we're going to get 3.3 million annually, but we're going to give up money too. You know, I mean, and what we really need to look at is, you know, what will we gain from this, but in turn, what will we lose? And, you know, that's really going to be the deciding factor for you as a board or the county commissioners to take in consideration is what, you know, because in some hospitals, you know, because of their, you know, payer mix, that may have a higher commercial payer mix than Medicare payer mix, it will affect them negatively to convert to a rural emergency hospital because they're going to give up more revenue by doing that than they've gained from being a rural emergency hospital. So really what I'm suggesting is, you know, we as Alliant will run the the financial aspects of this, lay out for what revenues you're going to generate by converting to a rural emergency hospital, what revenues you will lose by becoming a rural emergency hospital, and then the decision can be made as to what direction the organization goes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The revenue for those services. So I'd like to make a motion that we have Alliant provide that pro forma financial comparison between the two facilities, perhaps using 2022 and the new 2023 audited financials to determine what we would gain versus what we would lose financially.
Well, I don't know if, you know, and I know that I'm going to present to the county commissioners on April 16th, you know, as a response to the presentation that was made last week by Dr. Newen. I probably will not have the 23 audit by then, so I will be using 23's financials to do it, but they won't be audited financials.
Fine. Fine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Any discussion on this?
Is there a fee involved by us authorizing you to do this?
No, I just.
My only question is, why do we have to do an authorization?
It really is I just want to make sure that you guys, and you really don't need an authorization. It's just that, you know, just to make sure that, you know,
A recommendation.
a recommendation is probably is a better thing because, you know, there was, you know, feedback that we received from the Board of County Commissioners that they would like to see us do that, and I wanted to make sure you guys were okay with.
And John and I talked about that as well. I think Bill and I talked Duffy. So we've all talked about, you know, an analysis being done. I'm like, well, Alliant can do that analysis for us. So
I wanted the formal motion to do it on the board's behalf.
Yeah, which we did. It's there. We got a second.
Any other discussion? We have more discussion.
The reason I asked for this is if we've hired a Alliant to look out for our best interests, and why wouldn't it behoove them to produce that without us being involved, come back to us and tell us, hey, here's your best option, because we're paying so much a month. Here's your best option, your
And-
management fee, because you're the managers.
And you're right, I mean, we've started looking at this for Weems long before this. We don't have all the, the details of all of it worked out yet. But this is not something we just are going to start doing right now. Tom can tell you that we've already seen the preliminary numbers of what it means for this, but I want to make sure that we go through with the most current numbers that we have available when I make that presentation to you all. But and again, a lot of what is here is in response to that presentation that was made to county commissioners last week. So just kind of want to go on record.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And another thing also that.
Any other discussion on this? If not, all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Let me add one other thing, since we were talking about the REH aspects of this. Through conversations that I've had with commissioners in the past, and again, in light of the recent presentation, Alliant is positioned to make a proposal to take on what we would call a lease operating agreement for the hospital. And again, I wanted to inform this board that on April 16th, I also will be discussing with the Board of County Commissioners, what we would anticipate being in that lease operating agreement for the hospital.
And what I'll do, probably the week before the meeting, I'll send out a reminder to you all, and send out another reminder on Monday. Then, of course, you can watch the meetings on Garden Coast TV or YouTube, but if you can be there in person, it'd be great. August 16th.
April 16th.
Well, yeah, so a lot of the closing entries and everything that are going to be out there, they would stand regardless of what direction. So the analysis pro and con will pretty much still be the same, because if it's an adjusting entry for the books, most of them are going to be related on cost report adjustments, but cost report will be impacted as well. But we do know those dollar amounts and things like that, so we can make adjustments for those.
And really the last thing, and I'm sorry for taking so much of y'all's time, but I know there was a question at the last board meeting about the care coordination position and how much that has helped or hurt the hospital. And I can let you know that care coordination position generated in 2023 34 referrals to Weems Hospital. Out of those referrals, 10 of those patients were accepted to be admitted at the hospital. The average length of stay for those patients were 13.4 days for swing beds. If you take that, and again, this is high level, this is not breaking it down by payers and all this other stuff, but if you take your daily rate of $4,473 per day for a swing bed patient times the length of stay of those 10 patients, you roughly come up with $599,000 in gross revenue. Again, that's not net revenue, because that would be determined by patient. But I wanted to give you an example of what that is. And in 2024, there's been 4 referrals from the program. 2 were accepted, and this year we're running a little bit less length of stay of 12.6 length of stay, and that equates for January and February. Don't have Marches yet. That equates gross revenue of 112,000. Well, again, this program, and it was only started in 2023. For the 4 hospitals that are participating in it, it generated roughly $2 million in gross revenue for those 4 hospitals. You got about 600,000. So you've got about a quarter of it. Any other questions?
Thank you. Good presentation. The next item is the foundation update.
All right, I just got about 3 hours. I'm going to work on this and let you know what I'm going to. Well, we've been very busy on the foundation, putting up signs around town, getting flyers out with the health fair that's coming up. We've got food trucks there. We've got 2 food trucks and a couple more still on the way. We've got live entertainment. Tommy Cooper's going to play guitar and sing. Beta Club volunteers are going to do some of the setup and help Greg with facilities. We've got some demonstrations. We've got a chair massage for all you people. It's going to be fun. Smoothie making. EMS confirmed they're going to be there. Fire truck is pending. We've got games for the kids. Obstacle course that the Beta Club is going to set up. Promotions of flyers already started going out in Apalachicola, St. George, and Carabel, and East Point. The banner is up. You can see it right by the Exxon station. I climbed up at my own risk on a garbage can to reach the top of that thing and tie it off. So we got pictures of that. Yeah. That's the May 18th. We've also got yard signs just came in, picked them up over in Port St. George. So those are going to be distributed and then get out those signs. We're going to do that the first week of April, put the signs in the ground. We don't want them out there too long, doggy looking. What else? Oyster Radio. We set up, piggybacking off of what Weems already does with Oyster Radio in the contract. We're going to piggyback on that with some foundation information, fair information. Online interest is mounting. The foundation has a Facebook page. If you haven't gone on the Facebook page, go on there. Sign up for it, share it. The information that goes out. The more people we get out to, the more people that sign up for it, the better. The volunteer appreciation event. We do have some information going out to employees about their ability to volunteer for that day if they want to. That's all I have on the health fair pretty much. It's moving along. May 18th from 10 to 1. This Saturday. I don't answer any questions.
No, just on the wing, on the wing side.
It is, and the foundation site. Yep,
So we can do
absolutely.
both, right?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
hitting everything we can.
Okay,
Shotgun approach, get it all out there.
good. I wanted to see what I needed
Well, I
to
think
do there.
last year, one of our biggest regrets was that, number one, we picked a day where we had, a Veterans Day conflict.
Yeah.
And we also, I think, didn't start as early getting the message out. We're trying to remedy those 2 situations by changing the date and doing a lot more advertising and promotion. So I really, all the vendors are coming back. We've got 25 plus health partners that have already committed to coming back to the event. So we are not short on vendors, what we call partners, on the event. So hopefully, if you will build it, they will come, and that's what we're hoping for. Just a quick, I don't want to take up too much time, but the November 9th gala for the Forgotten Coast Sapphire Celebration, which we're calling it for November 9th. We're hoping on target for 150 to 160 or more guests. We are going to start doing ticket sale in July. It's $100 a ticket. There are some discounts for tables and also things we're looking for Sapphire members and corporate members. And if anybody on the board, I know we sent out a spreadsheet which indicated some of the corporate people that we want to get contact names and contact information or phone numbers on. If you have anybody that you know that's a personal friend of yours or a contact, and you want to help us update that list, that would be very helpful for us, because we are going out to community. We are touching base with all of the business partners in the community and hoping to bring them in, whether we bring them in as a table sponsor or we bring them out as a higher sponsor, or even at this point, if you could look to your contacts to get any upscale donations for the silent auction, that would be helpful too. We talked to Richard Bickle, and he is going to provide a large framed photo from his inventory. We're not looking for T-shirts and small items. We're looking for $50 plus donations from local vendors and business people. So if you have any of those, we'd be willing to talk to you about those as well. And we're excited about it. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for the community to come together in a great event. We've got great music from Scratch 2020. We have Danny's food truck, Tamara's on the Go, as our food vendor. It's going to happen at the Armory downtown, so it's going to be right here local. So that's all I got. It's going to be our Sapphire Gala Weems Forgotten Coast Sapphire Celebration, I guess. It's November 9th.
And we may time for it.
Oh, we're looking. We're still kind of up in the air whether we're going to do 6 to 10 or 7 to 11, but it's going to be within that time frame.
Yeah. And this just came to me, of course, and I may talk with Royce after this, because we may want to get some video of the health fair, but we definitely want to get some video of the Sapphire again. Get some good video and stuff like that. So Royce, we'll talk about that.
Sorry, John, when you said time, I thought you meant my time was up.
Be great. It'll be a lot of fun. All right. Any other business? Any board members got any other business? If not, we're adjourning this meeting. Quick 5-minute break, then we'll go into